3 rounds, 3 minutes, 3 fights.
Unbeaten fighters and major performers. I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps and I'm joined now with Billy Joe Saunders here in Fuerteventura, Spain. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just finished the session, all done. Home tomorrow for a bit.
Preparing for another session, Billy Joe.
Preparing for another one, yeah. Yeah, 9 weeks now. Well, 9 weeks Saturday until fight night, so got to be on things now. Martin Murray's a tough opponent, so I've got to deal with him, you know, professionally, and that only comes with hard work. So, you know, I'm a bit off yet, but we're getting there slowly.
Mm-hmm. Bill, I got to ask you, I know as of right now, I mean, there's been so much sort of going on. Everybody's saying, are you going to step in and fight Gennady Golovkin? We got Vanez Martirosyan who's stepping in, who's going to be facing Gennady on May the 5th. What do you think of that matchup?
Do you know what? I haven't really seen much of him. I don't think he's boxed for 2 years, and I think he's lost 3 of his last 6. So, you know, that this shows that obviously they just want to warm up before Canelo in September. I think that the way that the commission handled the Canelo situation was ridiculous, because you know, what's the point of drug testing if you're just going to cover it up and let people continue doing it? I mean, you know, the minds will make it a fair playing field and let everyone inject and go and use, you know, the drugs, because I think that's the only fair way of doing it. That way there, it's not murder, is it?
What's the average ban for something like that anyways?
I think if you got caught with anything like that in England or so, I think it's 4 years banned. 4 years. So, look, it is what it is. I understand it's a big money fight, but, you know, you need to look at that. You know, boxing still goes on when we retire and when that rematch is over. And, you know, these young fighters growing up now in that state, if they look at Canelo only got a 6 months ban, and, you know, they might think in their own head, well, listen, if it's a 6 months ban and it's going to make me as good as him and get me where he's at, I'll do it. And I just think it's just going to continue, because, you know, that was nowhere near long enough.
Bill, what can be done about that, though? I mean, if it's one, how do I say this? If it's one rule, but that can be pretty flexible with depending on who it is, how can we actually prevent future situations like this?
Well, look, you either got to give out, fines don't really mean anything. You know, to people who's in big money fights, fines nothing. You know, you can fine them 100 grand, 200 grand, fines are nothing. But if you start handing out lengthy bans, or just saying, look, scrap UCAD and WADA and all that, and saying, get on with it, everyone do what you got to do. Because, you know, it's just ridiculous, because, like I say, if someone gets in the ring and seriously arms somebody, like we have seen in the past in England, then personally that's murder, isn't it? So, you know, I think charges should be brought against them if they're continuing to take enhanced drugs.
I know Golden Boy Promotions mentioned today that Canelo plans to return September the 15th, which, as you know, is the Mexican holiday. Now, we were hoping to see you face Gennady Golovkin sometime in the fall-ish. Was it for September that you guys were talking about? Because now it seems like the rematch could be back on the table.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. You know, I'm sure that fight will be on the table. You know, but it's interesting to see now what goes on with the IBF, etc., etc. So, you know, I think that it makes sense for that fight, but like I say, I just don't agree. I agree with the fight happening, but, you know, if you took the drug charge out and, you know, if he was handed the right suspension.
Bill, that may mean that you may not even get a unification fight until 2020, because I know that in 2019 they're talking about, it's like a bunch of mandatories. Yeah, most definitely.
Look, I mean, as long as one's champion and I've got the belt, you can unify and you don't need to do mandatories. So, you know, we'll see. But look, I'm just going to get on my career now, fight whoever's put in front of me, fight my mandatories. There's some big fights out there still for me. You know, you got Danny Jacobs, you got Demetrius Andrade. You still got a good few fights. So there's still some meaningful fights out there. You know, you just got to make them. And I think personally myself, sometimes belts can get in the way of making big fights. So, you know, we'll see. But I'll hold on to my belt until I get a unification fight with somebody, most definitely.
What do you make of Jermall Charlo? He's been doing a lot of talking, wanting to fight you. What do you make of him?
Do you know what? I haven't really took much notice of him. I don't really watch him. I haven't, you know, he beat Sebastian Island, is it, with one leg, who was injured halfway through and still struggled. I don't really know much about him personally, apart from getting robbed by women in nightclubs. That's the only time I really heard of him, really. So apart from that, I've got really no interest in him at all. You know, if they offer me enough money to go to America, or we'll bring him over here, if it's a big enough fight, most definitely we can make them sort of fights, because BT now has also got pay-per-view, so be interesting to see.
Bill, can we talk about what happened the other day?
Yeah. What?
You know, with your filming the police officers. Bill, what goes through your mind in that moment where you're like, I'm just going to do this?
No, see, Greg obviously just acting cool and calm. So we drove past the police car. I saw Greg's window down. I just wanted to do it, so I just pulled the handbrake up in front of the police, just to see Greg's reaction. And I see the reaction. He was very scared and vulnerable at the time, and he grasped me up. So he's a rat, isn't he? He's a bit of a rat, old Greggy boy.
But what crosses your mind at that moment? You're just driving, chilling, getting ready to go to dinner, and all of a sudden you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna cause trouble and just...
Michelle, why you have to swear? Why you got to swear for? Why not keep it calm here? Like, we're having a sensible, and you have to swear. I'm not swearing. I'm giving you a professional interview, and you have to bring the F word into it. I'm not swearing anymore.
Oh, stop with the gimmick you got right now.
I'm not. So you haven't heard me swear. When's the last time you heard me swear?
Honestly?
Yes.
Today.
Oh.
And I'm not going to repeat what you said.
Okay. Well, what did I say? Go.
I'm not going to repeat what you said.
Say it.
No.
Well, it's an interview. Say it. Go
No, because it's a word I wouldn't use normally.
on. Well, all right. Then use it out of content. Go on, use it. What is it? What did I say? Go on, say it. If I sweared, say it then. Can you not say it?
No.
Why not? All right. Use the what word? What term did I use? Use it by the letter. What did it start with?
C.
C. So you're saying I said C-U-N-T. I didn't say that. I never used that word.
Oh.
I've never ever used
What?
that.
Who are you right now?
I'm a professional. I'm giving this. I'm giving this interview. I'm being professional about interviews now. I'm not swearing no more. I'm giving out professional interviews. No more swearing.
Okay, Bill. Anyways, you're one to notoriously get under people's skin, but for whatever reason with Martin Murray, you haven't done very much talking. Why is that exactly?
You know, Martin Murray. He's a nice fella. You know what I mean? You got to respect what he's done. He's been all over. He's boxed for a world title 5 times. Come up short. So, you know, one thing he said, he summed it up well himself. Whoever fights him, he can guarantee an hard fight. And I've got to respect him a little bit, really, because he's a good family man and just does the best to provide for his kids. And I think someone like Martin Murray, if you did try and wind him up, it'd just go through one ear and out the other, because he's been around the block. And sometimes it can work for you, but then sometimes it can work against you. And I think, you know, this sort of thing with that sort of opponent will work against you. So, you know, I'll just give him the highest respect, and hopefully he gets in the ring 100%, and I'll beat the best Martin Murray can bring.
Bill, Martin Murray is, he's a good friend of yours too, right? Would you say?
I wouldn't say we're good friends, but I've got a lot of respect for him. You know, I certainly, if I'm boxing him now, but if I see him, I certainly say hello and, you know, ask him how the family is and that. So, you know, I've got to respect, but, you know, I think that in any fight, I think that people's got to put friendship aside, no matter how good of friends they are, because I think you've got to have that little bit of want to hurt in your heart to him a little bit as well, because let's face it, I'm getting in there to knock him out, he's getting in there to knock me out. And, you know, when you get all these people now cuddling and shaking hands and we're mates and having a laugh, it's serious business, and you've got to take it seriously. But, you know, there's certain opponents you can wind up and help you win a fight, and certain that you can't, and he's one of them that you can't.
A unification fight was obviously something that could have happened should you decided to maybe pay Martin Murray a step-aside fee and go through with the Gennady fight for, let's say, June-ish, because it obviously couldn't be made because of your hand injury. But you decided to honor your word and fight Martin Murray instead. Why exactly didn't you take the opportunity, though? We understand that you want to be a man of your word, but this is a huge opportunity and something that may not come around for a while.
My team and that put it to Golovkin for the fight, but they wasn't interested. They said they wasn't interested in southpaws at the time. We said we're ready to go any time in June. There were talks of it being in America somewhere, and they just didn't want the fight. No, he keeps saying he wants to unify and whatnot else, but I understand he's got bigger business to do, and boxing is a business, so I do understand that. But if you want to unify all the belts to make that fight bigger, and I'm so easy of a opponent, and you could take my belt so easy, what he says, and I've got a big mouth, and why not take it? Why not take the fight, get it in June, then fight him in September? But look, I'm not going to waste my time now queuing up to fight these, because I think that the way they look at me is a banana skin, because if they slip up with me, then there is no big $50-60 million fight. And I've got to respect them as businessmen for thinking like that, but as a boxing fan and in the sport as I am, I want to be in them fights, and I'll keep banging on the door till I get a unification fight.
And lastly, your pal's making his return finally. What was it, June the 9th? Who do you think that Tyson Fury is going to come back and fight?
No,
or who should he fight?
He's got a new ring name now as well.
What is it?
Long Knob Fury. I think Tyson's looking. He's looking very sharp. He's been sparring some good heavyweights, some good prospects, and when you spar these prospects, they're coming for it. So I spoke to him the other night. He's been in some tough spars, testing the water, and I think that's. He's named a couple of opponents yet, but I don't really want to put it out there and say talk his business at the minute. I think there'll be an announcement next week. But I think it'll be someone, sensible.
Yeah. Now, we know that he wants the fight with Anthony Joshua. How much of Anthony Joshua's success has sort of motivated Tyson to come back?
I think, Anthony Joshua's done a lot for the sport, not only for Tyson, but for boxing as a whole, because, he's the biggest draw in boxing right now. And I think that, he's put us right on the map from where he's come from. And I think that it's not so much motivated him, it's just that Tyson's took himself away from a dark place and he's back to where he belongs. And, he's back without his belt. So he's just on a mission to get them back. And I think once he's got all the belts back, I think then he can retire happy and, live a normal life.
Mm-hmm. Vladimir Klitschko had some few choice words to say about Tyson Fury, as opposed to lose the way that he lost to Tyson Fury as opposed to Anthony Joshua. He basically feels like Anthony Joshua should be given more credit. What do you think about that?
Well, if you're, he would say that because Tyson ruined his life for the past year or so. So he would say that, but you've got to look at boxing how you see it, and how I see it was Tyson didn't come out with a black eye. Joshua, he come out with 2 black eyes, but still, he's one of them people that he's always going to be in a life or death with someone like that. You know what I mean? So you really got to respect Joshua for what he's done. But Tyson Fury will play games with him easily. Trust me.
Why do you think Tyson Fury isn't getting as much credit as Anthony has for defeating Vladimir Klitschko?
I think because he's just a fat jippo, I think, to be honest with you. My personal opinion. He's just a jippo, he's rubbish about and pulls about a caravan and disrespects the country, and he done the impossible that no one could do, and he actually got slated for it. So, I think the only way he ever can put himself back on the map is beat the superhero, and that's Anthony Joshua. My opinion. But look, boxing's boxing. That weight there can all change with one punch. So I can't sit here and say, it's 100% certain this and that, but look at the art of boxing, then there's only one winner. I understand one punch can change anything, and they're heavyweights, and Joshua can punch, and I do rate Joshua. I personally think that he'll beat Wilder. I think Wilder's very, very wild, and I think Joshua will catch him and will beat him, but I just think that Tyson's just a little bit too clever and smart upstairs for him.
What do you think of Joshua's offer to Deontay Wilder? Do you find that to be fair? Do you think that, for a fight that's expected to gross over $100 million to offer the Deontay $12.5 million, it's US dollars, by the way?
Well, I personally think that Wilder should be taking his hand off, because I think if they said to Joshua, we give you... listen, I don't know what Wilder's earned and what he's not, but I shouldn't imagine that he's been in a big enough fight to earn $12.5 million. I think that Wilder should take Joshua's hand off and do the deal, because, all these heavyweights are not guaranteed. It only takes one punch from somebody coming up, and that $12.5 million then goes back down to $2 million. Mm-hmm. So I think that he should consider it and, deal on 12.5 or 15, I reckon.
Do you think that's enough, though, when you have to really separate, like, you have to pay your promoter, you got to pay your trainer, you have to pay for medical bills? Does that really kind of break down to be a fair amount?
Well, listen,
for a big fight like that, it's a massive fight.
It's a massive fight, but is he going to give... to be honest with you, in America, I don't think they'd even give Joshua $12.5 million, my opinion. Mm-hmm. Because Wilder's not known. You walk in any part of America and you ask 20 people on the street who Wilder is, how many would say yeah? Not many at all. You come to England and you ask who Anthony Joshua is, your granny knows who he is walking down the road.
But to be fair, Bill, you're talking about America's got over 400 million people, and you've got England's got, what, 40 million? It's a big difference there in terms of how many people should know who someone is.
If it's a big enough fight, why don't they do it in America then? It's a clear reason why they're not going to America, is because personally it don't do the numbers that it would do in England. Personally myself, that if there's 40 million people in England, then probably 10 of them's watching it. If there's 400 million in America, I don't know, would they be 10 million watching Wilder fighting somebody from England? I don't really know. You just look at the numbers that Canelo and Golovkin did. Is it a bigger fight than that? You got to look at it. It is, in my personal opinion, it's a bigger fight because of the weight and because of who Joshua is, not who Wilder is. Mm-hmm. But who am I don't know. So, I don't know about that.
All right, Bill, thanks so much for your time. I'm looking forward to getting this session in with you. We got to do our body. Is it body sparring or just
open sparring? Open. Full on contact.
But not in, yeah. But we got to avoid the face.
We've got Kell Brooks Daddy refereeing. He's going to referee.
All right. Any final words for your Canelo, Triple G, Johnny Jacobs, anybody?
I'll just do my talk and do my own business, and hopefully we'll meet down the road. We'll meet in the back alley somewhere, gypsy style.
All right, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Fight fans.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else